now is my opportunity to invite my colleague Salvatore Fundaro, who will share some instruments or tools from UN Habitat that could help foster further the intermediary cities in the context of linking urban and rural for a better territorial development, not only territorial balance, but territorial development. So Salvatore, you have the floor.
Thanks, Remy. I know that I'm the last one, so maybe the audience will be tired, but I will try to do my best. Also, many concepts will be repeated because being the last one, I think, but it's okay. It's good because we are on the same page. It means we are on the same page. I will present some slides on our work we are doing in Conakry. Hope you can see it. It's not appearing. Let me check again.
Okay.
Somehow is not showing the presenter. It's okay?
We can see, but it's not in presentation mode.
Okay. Yes, now.
Okay. Not on my screen yet. Did you share it?
There is some delay.
Okay.
Yes, sure. I think it's a delay. Let me take off the video. Can you see it?
Not on my screen yet.
Yeah,
could
now.
assist in the...
Now is it?
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay. Now it's good.
Now it's
okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So my presentation will be on the linkages between urban-rural linkages and intermediary cities and the role of regional territorial plans. That actually is something that have been already mentioned before by Dr. Usaini, but also by our colleague Alois Egger in Kisumu. So as you can see from this picture, there was a few weeks ago interesting publication in the Washington Post regarding projection for most populous cities in 2025, and you will see that still Asian cities are the most populous one. But was interesting that the projection, according to the studies for 2100, will show how Africa will take the lead. Actually, being Lagos in Nigeria, the most populous city in the world with 80 million inhabitants. And also the same document, the same paper was showing how the biggest cities in the world right now will decrease population in the same period. And that compared with the fact that according to data from OECD, the urban population in intermediate cities in Africa is still 60%, but is decreasing the percent of urban population. So what is happening? In our opinion, there is still in the mature, let's say, urbanization world that is related to the biggest city right now in the global north, in which intermediary cities are a sort of good support for mega.
En fait, on écoute la même chose.
Sorry, I see some noise.
Oui, tout à fait.
The 60% actually is in decreasing along the main population. So the role of intermediary city in terms of population is decreasing. But still, so that means that something is happening. It is true that still the population is in the intermediary cities, but is decreasing. And what and I'm starting with the Conakry regional plan. The example that I want to show is an ongoing plan that we are doing in Conakry with UN Habitat with the support of the European Union, We mapped the movement between the country and the region toward the main city. And we see that in the 1 year, almost the capital city of Conakry had an increase of population of 150,000 persons. And the intermediary cities related to the metropolitan area also had an increase of population. That, as you know, and that's been explained by many of the panelists before me, is creating problems of densities, of imbalance of service provision, and also a disruptive continuum between the urban and rural environment. So when we arrived, luckily there was already a vision approved by the government that was polycentric, tending to polycentric regions in which we had to balance the role of intermediary cities surrounding Conakry, the capital city, through different infrastructure and policies. We saw the Conakry plan will improve and implement this 2040 vision, using it as a sort of already approved document. As you can see, among the 7 pillars of the vision, the one is the balance between cities in a preserved environment. So the relation between cities, the balance of cities, but not only this, also the environment protection. As you can see, Conakry is on the coast, and there is a lot of mangrove area on the coast that is actually endangered by this pressure and this migration from inland to the capital city. Of course, the methodology adopted by the team is to analyze different things like the soil coverage, the protected areas, the risk, the flooding areas, the urban growth, the economy, the transport, the water supply, and the waste management, typical analysis that we are doing while planning. And of course, arriving with some key challenges and possible solutions. From that, we started also to build 3 scenarios. One is the business as usual. What will happen if we don't, let's say, do nothing? We leave things are they are. Second scenario with following the 2040 vision and sticking to that, and then more, let's say, ambitious scenario of the compact city region with also additional elements added to the Vision 2040. For doing that, we analyzed, and this is the methodology we used, we analyzed both projects from different, that are in the pipeline of the government at different levels, ministries, but also governmental agencies, etc., and we let's say, link with the different scenarios, understanding that there are, let's say, the green one are the more ambitious projects that probably are in a more soft pipeline. We gather all this information, not only about projects, but also about policies, and we classified and against these 3 possible scenarios and quantified in terms of capex and, of course, sector. Of course, the compact city region vision will require more investment, of course. And we also mapped it in a set of maps for the entire region in order to explain and understand the relation between all these projects, all these investments in terms of spatial hard investment, as was mentioned before, but also in terms of policies. We understood that the regional plan have to guide with a menu of investments the government in order to invest more efficiently and according to a vision, but also only the investment are not enough in order to modify the situation on the ground. It was also before mentioned that we need policies. So we also mapped the policies that are required in order to change the situation on the ground. This is, by the way, is a map of the sector of public transport in Conakry. So the projects that are in the pipeline from the government related to public transport. Apart from that, we also analyzed the gaps, the existing gaps in terms of facilities and social services, and for example, education, health, and social facilities in the entire region, in order to understand where the gaps are and where we have to act. So combining the pipelines project and where the gaps are, we analyze where we have to invest. This is more or less the methodology that we are using. We are still in the process of prioritization. So by May, probably for Africities, we will have a clearer understanding of where where these investments will go. For the moment, we have already a sort of understanding of the different weight of investment we will have in the 3 different scenarios. Of course, the green one is the more ambitious one, will require more money. But also, and this is also where we are in the methodology. So we will have at the moment, we have, let's say, this whole menu of investments mapped also spatially in order to understand the relation between different investments. What we'll now do is a prioritization of this with a multi-criteria analysis, where to prioritize these investments in order to have scenarios for the government in order to invest according to the vision selected. Some conclusion. Regional territorial plans, as I hope has been shown this intervention, are a key tool in order to address main challenges in African cities. For example, megacities population and urban sprawl contention. In the case of Conakry, it will be really key to invest in the intermediary cities in order to solve key problems that the city is facing right now, as for example, the extreme density of the peninsula and the problem with waste management that cannot be solved only acting on the city. We have to contain the demographic increase of and create this sort of polycentric regional city that was also mentioned by Omar in the beginning. Are a key element also to implement national vision and strategies. More than regional plans and territorial plans, more than urban plans, are the direct link to implement these visions. And in the case of the urban-rural continuum, are really relevant. Also, of course, if we talk about urban-rural continuum, have a key role in order to solve the gaps in services and facilities, and also, of course, understanding this food system production, intermediary cities with this link between rural and urban, between the mega city and the rural areas, are key in the food system production. And unfortunately, these regional plans are usually sometimes is not the case of Kenya, in which we know that there are the county integrated plans and the county special plans, but in other countries, in African countries, still territorial regional plans are a sort of a missing element. I believe that we have to also push on that. Thank you. Over to you, Remy.